Okay, so now we're going to go to the agency strategy questions. So these are the questions you really need to ask yourself as you're building your agency, as far as developing that unique selling proposition, that idea of what your agency is, what it stands for, and why it's different, and who your target market is. So there's a bunch of different ones here, and the rest of the training we're going to talk about all of them. Just a quick drink of water. Okay. So the first one's lead program options. Again, this is something that's extremely important. So when you recruit agents, you have to understand that for most agents, the reason they fail, well, it's mindset. There's things like that, of course, the mismatch in product and all that, naturally. But the biggest way to get from A to Z is showing an agent a system of success, okay? An activity-driven system of success, from prospecting to lead generation to selling to closing. And one big thing that you've got to do is have some kind of program in place to recruit agents to that shows them how to realize this kind of big picture idea of being in a lifestyle-driven business selling insurance, let's say. So you have to show them essentially the man behind the curtain, what makes the machine run. And leads are an important component to this process. And you have to give some serious consideration to how to develop a lead program. Because you can't just recruit, you can just recruit agents, but if they're going to ask you, well, how do I actually sell this stuff, and you have no answer for them, you're going to waste a lot of time and energy recruiting people that don't do the first thing. And it's very frustrating when you spend a lot of time with somebody and you don't have a well-defined program in place. So I put down a couple of options here, and we're going to discuss the pros and cons of each to help you kind of decide what to do. And I'm going to give you some of my ideas of what I've done, what's been successful for me, what hasn't been successful for me, and then share with you some agencies that I know of that are doing certain things that are having success. Again, just to kind of do a whole data dump on you so you can analyze what works best overall. So the first thing are free leads for agents. So it's just like the name implies. You have the option or the capability to put people in a position where you provide them some sort of lead system to generate them freely, or you have purchase leads that you buy for them to go out and recruit. And there's a couple of ways to do it. These are just some examples. Lead financing. So Lincoln Heritage, for example, Senior Life, Old American. These are large, very successful organizations that literally lead finance everybody that comes into the business. There's very few exceptions. Like with Lincoln, you come in, you're at a pretty crappy contract in most cases, but you also, which is arguably a good benefit, get the ability to buy leads with lead financing. So this is a model that works well for them because there's a lot of downlines in between. There's people that absorb the cost of the lead financing, and it's something that can work. I'll give you my opinion on it in a bit, my experience, and why I don't like it. Project 100, this is, again, what you find more the captive agencies do, where, not captive, more the career agencies like New York Life, Northwestern Mutual. I think it's a Project 200 now. It might be the Project 300 now. But the concept is that you do a whole listing of all your circle of people in your circle of influence, and you either go out to talk to them about selling them insurance products, or you just go to talk to them about your new job and what you're doing and get some interest from it, but then transition some of that business into referrals, seeing other people in their sphere of influence and starting a prospecting system. This can be good if it's done the correct way. It is a strategy that gets a lot of people started off on the right foot, but a lot of people do not like this for a variety of reasons, of which we'll talk about. And then the last one is a seminar-based strategy. This is where you teach a system to basically do speaking engagements to different groups to generate your own leads. But either way, these are just a couple of examples. There's other ways too. You can recruit agents that get your leads that you didn't work. If you're buying a lot of leads, I'll make sure to cover that as well. and you provide them to them for free at a lower contract to offset some of the investment that you've made into the leads and provide them a free resource in making sales and getting started. I've done that before. I'll talk about that a little bit. So let's talk about the pros of in general, a free lead program and kind of each of these little items that we mentioned. So the biggest benefit to doing a free lead program is that, first of all, it removes one of the biggest obstacles in getting involved in this business, which is just cost of doing business. I'm sure there are a lot of people that would be entrepreneurs if they didn't have to take a chance and invest their money. There's a ton of people out there who like the idea of being in business, but would never take a risk of any substantial amount on themselves. And when you provide the leads to them, you're giving them an avenue to enter a business without the typical requirements of personal investment. So when you recruit, it's a huge advantage to a lot of people that you'll talk to if you can show them a system that costs them little to nothing to run. And all of these, to a certain extent, fill that gap. So it allows you to talk to more people. It allows a lot more conversations to happen. Again, with lead financing, if you finance an agent, you're in a position of basically giving them fresh, exclusive leads, giving them the best opportunity for success, like somebody who puts their own skin in the game. Project 100, it's a legitimate strategy to use. The best people to sell to are people who already know, like, and trust you. Many people have contacts in different industries. This is a great way to get in front of a lot of people and talk to people that otherwise might be resistant to an insurance salesperson. And a seminar-based strategy is great because even though you got to talk to people and get in front and do a speaking engagement, the leads cost next to nothing. They're very high quality, and it's a system that can be easily taught, again, without a large investment. So let's talk about some of the drawbacks to this particular method. So the biggest drawback here is that you're on the hook, all right? So I have learned recruiting agents, and I'll give you a couple examples where I offered free lead programs, is that there are a lot of people who will say yes to doing something like this, but because there's nothing to lose, you don't get the level of commitment that I believe you'll find in agents who otherwise would be committed if they had something to lose. So I'll give you a perfect example. Like 2 or 3 years ago, I had put together with a couple of agents a strategy using Craigslist, some evergreen webinars where people watched and learned about the final expense business, and we marketed nationally. We did like 100 plus ads across the nation to sell people on final expense, to get them interested, and eventually work with us. I spent a ton of money on it, and the thing is that the offer I made was for free leads. At the time, we were doing free telemarketed leads or seminar marketing, and the result was we had some people who did it, but very few of them actually panned out and had anything as far as substantive result. So it ended up being a big disaster. It wasn't good at all. The results were not good. There are some other reasons why it didn't work well, which that ties into more of what I talked about last week, which is making your agency regionally designed or locally designed, so that you can coach and have a hands-on action with people. We did not in this regard, and that's when I realized that a lot of people need the hand-holding, a lot of people need the support, and they need the camaraderie of an agency, which is why I believe a setup like this makes much more sense than a national contract mass market approach, because you have the personal touch with your agents to help coach them along. Many, many, many people need that, more than you'd like to think, more than I thought at the time. But the point was, as far as leads go, there was no accountability metric in place. When you do a free lead program, you have got to make sure that you babysit these people. They're taking your money, and the way they treat your money in many circumstances is completely different than how you would. So you have to also assume when you do any kind of free lead program, especially if you pay for the leads, that you have to micromanage that process and make sure that your investment is well taken care of. Because we ultimately don't know unless we're seeing and riding with them, which I highly recommend, what they're doing, how they're doing it, and if they're actually doing their job. And people will take free leads for a very long time and underperform. Hold on one second. So I am personally against lead financing of any form. I had an agent once that I liked, but had signs of somebody who could be successful in this business, but also had signs of not having commitment and being the wide-eyed optimist that I was at the time, as opposed to the cynical person I am now. Not really, but kind of. I realized that I said, sure, let's give it a shot. I think he's got the stuff. I think this guy can do really well. So 6 to 12 months later, he had 4,000 in chargebacks and 6,000 in lead finance debt. And so I left holding the bag, had to pay that back, which it was my fault. It wasn't his fault. He is who he is. And I just wished him to be something different, but because of my naivete, I learned a lesson, an expensive lesson. So for me, I just think that for me, skin in the game is really important. So when it comes to free leads, I don't like lead financing. It's something that can work. I know an agent that does a really good job. He personally produces, does very well. He's got about a half dozen to a dozen agents, and he personally pays for all of his agents' leads, fresh leads, everything like that. He micromanages them. He makes sure that the policies get issued. If they don't get issued on time, like with trans amendment, then he sends somebody else to go write the deal instead. So he has to, because it's his money that's tied up in those deals. And if those agents don't take care of that, then hell, he's going to do it. And it takes a lot of effort. There's a lot of stress to it. But he makes a multiple on top of the money that he puts down every week to invest in free leads for his agents. And the thing is like I said, there are a lot of agents that will not go the free lead route or will not go the paid lead route because there's a different mindset when it comes to investing in yourself and your business. There are going to be agents that perform better as employees as opposed to business owners, meaning some people just do fine in this business and all they have to do is sell, even if they're on a really low contract. And if you throw those people in the mix of running their own business, managing their own money, paying for leads, it's a stressful ordeal and they fail out. I've seen it happen. And you got to be very careful as to what kind of people you work with and understanding where their limitations are. So for me, I'll talk about this in a minute because the other option here is agent finance leads. And that's where the agent has skin in the game. That's where they pay for the leads, they pay for the programs, learn how to generate their own leads. But they're totally, you could possibly do some kind of arrangement where it's subsidized, so partially. But in this case, totally responsible for financing themselves. The pros of this is that everything I just talked about the micromanagement, the frustration with dealing with agents at times, putting your personal money at risk is wiped away. Not wiped away because the only risk you really have is chargeback debt, which is something to be concerned with. But what you end up happening is a different interaction with your agent. They're more like a business owner. They're self-financing themselves. They're buying leads. They're being responsible. There's so much less risk on your behalf that you're taking that the experience in managing agents is a little bit different. And it's less of a hands-on experience. It can be a hands-on experience, but like in my organization, I treat everybody like they're business owners. I'm not bothering them daily. I'm not asking them, what are they producing lately? They call me when they need help, and I help them when they call. And if they don't, then we don't talk, because I recruit them on that premise that you're in business for yourself. We're all adults here. So go out and work if you want to. If you don't, then don't. And that's my culture, I guess, in a sense. So I like this because for me personally, it fits my personality. I'm a giver. I want to help, but I'm not somebody that just is going to be on top of people. So like the first approach there never would work for me, just because I just don't want to be that involved. I don't want to be down in the dirt that much. But some people, that's exactly what they want to do, and they're fine with that. The downside to my approach is there's a lot less people that can manage their finances to run a business than there are people who can just sell. Okay, again, just because you're a good salesperson doesn't make you a good business owner. And that's how you have to look at this. Salespeople sell, business owners sell, manage money, manage financing, manage your business, customer service. They do everything. And there's not a lot of people that match that description. And the reason I know this is because 95% of Americans are employees. 5% of us are business owners. And even some of those 5%, a lot of them are small business owners, one-trick pony guys. They don't have it, they don't run a business. They just basically do their job 1099. So the problem is that when you recruit this way, it just dramatically reduces the amount of talent that you could possibly get had you offered some kind of free lead or subsidized lead program. And it will reduce the total volume down. Whether that's a good thing or not is really your decision as an agency. What would I do getting started off if I was recruiting in a way that was more regional or state located? One of the best strategies I like is one thing we'll talk about in a little while. You need to still personally sell as you build your agency. You don't need to quit selling. You don't even need to back off selling, okay? You need to run and set your agency up so that you can still hit your production you're doing now, because you're going to need every dollar in case some jerk charges you back or costs you time and money. You need to make sure you're going to work even more to make sure you can make this thing get off the ground. And that's going to require many more years of work in many cases. And so what I like to do in order to make the free lead program work, I think it's a really smart idea, if you're purchasing leads already, and a lot of you are, is to hand over those leads to that agent. It's a great way to give them leads that maybe they're not fresh, they're older, but ones you didn't get to. We all have those. And see what they do with them. Go out in the field, show them how you do your business, have them do a couple presentations, give them the leads, see what happens, give them a week, a probationary period to perform, and then determine if this is some guy that you want to keep or not based on how they interact with the client and interact with the leads. It's a good testing method without deploying any more capital on an untested agent. And if you find somebody that has the stuff, then you're in a position where if you wanted to buy the guy leads, if he was in a position not to, you can feel a lot more confident. You can buy leads, put him in a position to go work, knowing that this guy has something that is not just talk, but it's walk too. It's actual action. So I like that a lot. If you think about it this way, it recoups your investment in the leads, right? Because maybe there's leads you'll never see because you're constantly busy seeing people in preset appointments, let's say, or whatever. Well, this allows you to recoup some of that sales because most likely you're going to have this guy at a lower commission in exchange for the free leads. So it's a great way to get your money back if you think of it that way, but also to test to see if these agents are actually legit and if all their talk actually amounts to anything. Are you an insurance agent who is interested in building your own agency? If that's the case, then beware. There are so many opportunities, quote, opportunities, out there for agents to level up their game and build their agency that put all sorts of contingencies and stopgap measures to prevent you from actually owning your agency and maximizing your commission. I put together a new program for those agents who are interested in creating their own agency. It doesn't matter what product you sell, but to give you the knowledge and the pathway to own the entire process of growing your agency and scaling it and making sure that no one, not a single company, person, or upline owns you, where you own the thing outright and you build your agency in your vision only. This program is something you can learn more about very easily if you go to davidduford.com, click at the top that says Join Dave's Agency. You'll see a part there where it says Agency Builder Program or something like that. Check that out, review it, And then feel free to get back with me if it's something that's interesting to you and useful, especially if you're looking to grow an agency and understand the importance of building an independent way that has no entangling alliances with anyone except the vision that you have. So thanks for watching, and hope to hear from you soon. See you. Bye.